Do you ever feel like fundraising is complicated? Well, I want to tell you that the overall aspects of fundraising are not as complicated as they may seem. I want to take a few minutes and break down some simple steps of fundraising. There's actually only 4 basic steps to fundraising. Just about every principle, every method, every aspect of fundraising can break down to these 4 simple steps. I've spent about 25 years in the fundraising space. I actually grew up in fundraising with my dad being a professional fundraiser. He had 27 marketing offices up and down the East Coast of the United States when I was really little. And so I learned these secrets, if you will, of fundraising. I learned the simple practices, the simple steps to be successful in fundraising, to be able to acquire the funds, to be able to do the things that God has called you to do. And so I want to share these 4 simple steps with you, as well as get into a little bit of detail, some of the frameworks, the systems in each of these steps, and hopefully you'll walk away feeling empowered to be able to go and fundraise and know that you know the steps, you know the things to implement, and you can go forward and put those into work in your own organization. So these 4 simple steps, 4 basic steps are to plan, present, gain, and maintain. Plan, present, gain, maintain. 4 simple things, yet sometimes we can make it so complicated. I find that a lot of times things that are simple are not always as easy as they might be, right? To say these 4 things might sound really simple. They are basic steps. They're the overarching aspects, but it can be hard to walk all of these things out. So I'm going to walk you through each of these areas and what might be included in them, give you a brief overview. The first basic step is to plan. And in the planning phase, we're going to plan our organization. We're going to plan out all the aspects of our programs. And there's really 4 areas of planning that you need to focus on before you move to present. The first is your mission. Your mission describes why you exist. Why did you create this organization? What is the problem that you're looking to alleviate in the world? The second piece of your planning step is vision. Where are you going? If your mission talks about why you exist, then your vision gives you directionality. I might have a mission to alleviate poverty in my city, to help those that are in a lower economic class. Maybe my mission is to eliminate hunger in the city, that I want every single person in my city to be able to have the food that they need. And so those would be mission and vision if I actually put them together. So the mission is eliminate poverty, eliminate food insecurity in my city. The second part might be vision, would be that I want to have no one in our city go without food over a 24-hour period of time, right? So my mission, alleviate food insecurity. Then vision is the directionality. How am I going to go about doing that? How do I know if I've achieved my goal, if I've achieved my vision, right? And then number 3, the third piece of this planning phase, is your core programming. What's the vehicle by which you will accomplish your vision? If we talk about not having anybody in the city go without food for a 24-hour period, there's lots of different ways of accomplishing that. One way might be to have a soup kitchen. One way might be a food pantry. One is I'm making all the food. Another is I'm giving other people the food to make. Maybe I start a really big restaurant and I give away food for free, or I give meal tickets out to people to every single restaurant in the city, right? It could just be me giving coupons to everybody that doesn't have food, and they can go eat at any of the restaurants in the city, right? There's lots of different programs or vehicles, methods by which you can achieve your mission and vision, but you have to decide what is the core programming that exists in your organization. How are you going to do the mission? How are you going to accomplish the vision? The fourth piece of planning is your budget. Once you have your mission established and you have your vision and then you have your core programming, you can finally put together a budget. What is this actually going to cost? And then what do I need this year? What do I need next year? As I grow, am I going to need more? Do I need facilities? Well, all these different aspects of of the organization? What do I need to buy? What do I need to create, right? This all happens in the planning phase. And again, I would really break it down to 4 key areas that you need to plan before you go into present. So the first is your mission, your vision, your core programming, and then your budget. Once you have those things in place, then you can go into the second basic step of fundraising, which is to present. Number 2, presentations need to answer 5 different questions. I believe every single presentation should answer these 5 questions if the person doesn't already know the answers to these questions. Some people might already know who you are, but don't make any assumptions as you present. I find that oftentimes leaders make too many assumptions of what they think people know rather than actually explaining it in their presentation. So the 5 questions that every presentation should answer are: who are you? What are you doing? Why is it important? What are you asking for? And why does it matter to the person that you're asking? 5 questions, right? The first is, who are you? Now, I always like to start with introducing myself if I'm making a presentation, but then I want to talk about who is my organization. Your mission should be able to answer this question for you. Who are you? Why do you exist, right? Number 2 is, what are you doing? This now comes into your vision and your core programming. We are an organization in the city. We're a nonprofit organization, and we exist to eliminate food insecurity in the city. And what are we doing? Well, what we're doing is we're looking to ensure that within a 24-hour period of time, no one in the city goes without at least one meal. And the way that we're doing that is through this meal ticket program. We've partnered with over 100 restaurants in the city, and they've all agreed that as we get these meal tickets, they'll accept those as cash, and we'll reimburse the restaurants so that nobody goes without a meal, and they're also eating with dignity. Right? Who am I? What am I doing? I've answered those 2 questions. This third is, why is it important? I have to explain to the person why this thing that I'm doing is important. And this is where I don't want to assume that somebody understands why it's important. If you are eating 3 meals a day and your cupboards are full, you probably are out of touch with the people that aren't even getting 1 meal a day. You might not even be able to comprehend or understand unless I tell you more about it. So I might want to share some statistics about how 10% of our neighbors right here in the city are struggling to be able to eat every single day. Maybe I talk about the homeless that are on the street, or I talk about the single moms, or the people that are living in our Section 8 housing or lower income housing, right? And I tell some of their stories. Maybe I talk about John, who is homeless, and he would go 2 or 3 days without eating. He would be in the dumpster behind the grocery store trying to find something. And that's why it's important, right? So now I've answered, who are we? What are we doing? Why is it important? And the 4th piece is incredibly important. What are you asking for? You have to actually ask. In this presentation, which is the second basic step of fundraising, the 4th question you need to answer is, what am I asking for? I don't want to make a presentation without asking for something. And this is where we tend to fall apart as fundraisers, as presenters. If we have not done the planning, then the asking becomes incredibly difficult. If we have clarity, we can build trust. But if there's confusion, somebody's going to say no. And really, we're going to struggle to even ask if we're confused about what it is that we need. If we're not sure if we need $10,000 or $10 or $1,000, if we don't know our numbers, if we haven't really mapped out our program, it becomes difficult to confidently ask for what it is that you need. I find that oftentimes leaders tend to stray away from this for a lot of different reasons. And I get into talking about this in some other videos, your limiting beliefs and other things like that. But I want to encourage you, the 4th question that you need to answer, and you need to answer it, is, what am I asking for? And then the 5th piece is, why does it matter to the person I'm asking? And this is incredibly important. In the for-profit sales world, which I used to do a lot of sales training, we would say that what's in it for the customer, right? What's in it for the person that I'm selling something to? And in a sales orientation, maybe I'm at a Home Depot and I'm trying to sell carpet to somebody, or I'm a car salesman and I'm trying to sell a car. Well, what's in it for you? You get a new car, you get a new carpet, right? It's really easy to answer that in the in the for-profit space, maybe in the exchange space, where somebody's buying something from me and they're getting something in return, right? But in the nonprofit space, how do I answer that question? Why does it matter to the person that I'm asking? Why does it matter for them to give? Maybe in this case of my food organization in the city that we're talking about, maybe I know that this person I'm presenting to has a real heart to help people, but they have no idea how to do it. Maybe they work crazy hours and they don't have the time to go volunteer in a soup kitchen, but they know that they want to do something to support, right? So why does it matter to you is that you see the need and you want to help and you don't know how. Well, I'm giving you a way to do that, right? Maybe people within the church, they have this idea that they're supposed to be part of the Great Commission. They're supposed to be part of spreading the gospel all over the world, preaching the gospel and sharing good news and baptizing people and discipling people and helping people get to know who Jesus is and to follow him. They feel like they have to have this part in that Great Commission, but they don't know where they fit in. They don't know how to help. And this might be the mechanism for them to be able to do their part, right? But I have to answer that question. Why does it matter to the person I'm asking? So 4 basic steps: plan, present, gain, maintain. And then the presentation is 5 questions. Who am I? What am I doing? Why is it important? What am I asking for? And why does it matter to the person I'm asking? The 3rd basic step of fundraising is to gain. Now, gain is where we actually get the check. Somebody processes the credit card. We have the money in our bank account. We've gained a supporter. We've gained a donor, gained a partner. A lot of times this happens right in the middle of the presentation, but oftentimes it's a process. We might make a presentation one day and then follow up with an email and maybe follow up with a phone call. Maybe it's several presentations in sequence. We meet with a pastor and then meet with the missions committee, and finally we get to present before the church, and then we finally gain some donors, right? So gain might be a process, but we have to go through this phase of gain before we can go to the last phase, which is maintain. And this is the other one that I see a lot of organizations tend to miss, is they gain a donor, they gain a donation, and they do a terrible job maintaining the relationship afterwards. I truly believe that effective and long-lasting fundraising is all about relationships. It's about building these partnerships, maintaining good relationships from the point of presentation all the way through to a second, third, fourth subsequent donations that happen. People will not continue to give over and over if they feel like the only time that you're asking is when you want money from them. The only time you connect with them is when you're asking for something. That's not a good relationship, right? That's not good maintenance of a relationship. Maintaining means that I'm sending a thank you card after somebody makes a donation. Maybe I include them in my newsletter updates. I friend them on Facebook so they're seeing all of my updates of what's happening. Maybe there's some significant moment in the program that they chose to support, and I share a picture with them. I text them and say, "Hey, John, look what you just helped accomplish. This, man just came into our soup kitchen and just shared this story about how he's gone 4 days without eating, and it was because of us that he was able to get a meal. And he said thank you to me. He thanked all of our staff, and I wanted to pass that along to you as one of our partners, that there's a thanks from this gentleman who was able to eat for the first time in 4 days. Thank you," right? That's all maintenance. That's maintaining the relationship so that when I do eventually ask again, it doesn't feel like I'm treating them just like a money tree, trying to get from them without there being this true and beautiful partnership that can be there where we're both investing in this mission long-term together. So again, I know I just threw a whole bunch out at you. 4 basic steps of fundraising: plan, present, gain, maintain. In the planning phase, you want to focus on mission, vision, core programming, and your budgeting. In your presenting phase, 5 questions. Who am I? What am I doing? Why is it important? What am I asking for? And why does it matter to the person I'm asking? And then the last 2 steps are gain and maintain. Focus on that relationship. Hopefully, I'll have my book coming out very soon on fundraising. You can read a lot more about these different steps, read some of the other depth into each of these steps. How do you actually implement these into your organization? In the meantime, until that comes out, you can always feel free to check out my legacy leadership system and the other resources around that. Check out other videos that are on my YouTube and reach out. If there's questions that you have or support that you need, I'm always happy to schedule a strategy session with any nonprofit or ministry that is doing good work in the world. I love being part of the work that you're doing. And so reach out, send me an email, book a call. I'm happy to hop on with you and talk about what's going on in your organization, how I might be able to help shed some light on an area that you might feel stuck, or maybe give you some directionality as you move through some of that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and God bless.